Hello, welcome to Easy Crypto with Nimiq. Nimiq makes crypto easy to use for everybody, and we have this series to explain more about it. I am your host, Richie, and this time we are going to be speaking about all the human characteristics that a cryptocurrency needs, that we identified that it needs to be successfully accepted for everybody, and how it translates into the Nimiq Ethos and the Nimiq apps and the things that we are doing as a project. And to speak about that, we have here Max, the official ambassador of the project, and also Ilion, who takes care of operations of the team, and also the legal aspect and some portion of the charity component of itself. So, Max, who do you think Nimiq is made for? Is this like a wide audience thing? It gives it like some interesting components because it's for all humanity, right? For everybody.
Yes, kind of. So we've built Nimiq in mind with everybody, every human being on the planet who has a device that can access the internet should be able to easily access the crypto space and use cryptocurrency as a means of payment. This is what we envision. This is what we started with, and we are building easy solutions that enable people without a certain technical background or even knowledge about payment systems to interact with true cryptocurrency as easy as like with their own online banking or other payment apps that they're used to. And we want to show that true crypto is really accessible and easy to use, and it can also be fun and have several good other aspects that people can value.
Yeah, and in terms of like true crypto, we've spoken about like what is the true crypto way, the non-custodial, and also the importance of not having an intermediary and doing things for the right reasons, right? That is something that we really believe in Nimiq. So, Ilion, from the charity aspect, why do you think it's important to have charity embedded into Nimiq as a project?
Well, maybe I'll back it up a little bit. I think the whole reason when we started Nimiq or came up with the idea of the lowest barrier to entry crypto, right? As you just said, that we want everybody to be able to participate that just has a device in their hand. So that also means you don't need an app store, you don't need to install anything, right? A browser gives you direct access to Nimiq, its wallet and its currency, and you're direct participant in this network. We said basically if we create that, if we're in a position to build this new currency that's so easy to access, part of building a currency should be that there's a charity component built into it. So if you build money, why not also build into it giving back? And the idea there, we found out later that this is actually something quite common now in the business world, or starting to become popular, and for good reasons. It's this 1% pledge. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that,
Yep.
the one where in the US, I think the US is driving that effort, where businesses that are socially, ecologically conscious say, 1% of our sales actually go to a charity cause that I think in some cases the user can select upon checking out, like the Project Kind Humans that we actually partnered with. And we basically, before we even knew this, because obviously this is like 5 years old, the idea now, we set aside 2% of the total amount of a total final amount of NIM supply, and said we're setting that aside immutably, Genesis block, including a vesting schedule, so that this NIM amount would not be just accessible right away, but spread out over 10 years, with the whole idea also that we, the project wants to first generate value and have NIM develop and become bigger, so that then the impact of those NIM that the charity holds can be bigger. So what we did set in stone was that the mission of this is, we want to do with that something of high social and ecological impact. And so I think that's what's really unique to this currency and Nimiq as a project, that we built this into the currency.
That's super cool. And it's interesting how we envision this from the very beginning, and you can see that in the blockchain itself. And there are other things from the blockchain that we identified that are maybe necessary as a payment system For example, we believe Bitcoin is amazing. We are standing shoulder of giants here with Bitcoin. It's the first one adopted in a lot of places around the world. But we also identify there's other things that are important. Max, would you care to maybe comment a little bit about that?
Yes, of course. You know, we are on a mission to bringing true decentralized cryptocurrency to every human being on the planet, kind of. So our slogan, what we do is we are creating crypto for humans. That has two aspects, the crypto aspect and the human aspect. So when it comes to cryptocurrency, and you just mentioned Bitcoin as the original, as the first cryptocurrency, follows a certain philosophy. And those can be summarized as the fundamental pillars of crypto, which is crypto is neutral, open, borderless, decentralized, and censorship resistant. That are the true fundamentals of a digital decentralized currency that is as it should be. You know, that is the true crypto way of doing things and handling payments. But on the other hand, we can't forget that there is not only this technical side, but there's also this fundamental human side to it. And there are intrinsic needs or things that people want to see covered. So that means it needs to be easy to use. Just make it easy for people to access, be part of it, and use it. It needs to be fast because no one wants to wait very long. It needs to be practical, so I can actually use it as a means of payment in my everyday life. So I have this really low barrier of entry, so that people actually are incentivized to use it for their everyday payments when they go out and buy bread or go to the supermarket. And on top of that, we are fully aware that eco-friendliness and sustainability is a very important part. And that is why we're developing Nimiq 2.0, our proof of stake consensus algorithm. So that means that we are living up to the eco-friendly aspect of what, you know, it's in our nature that we want the planet to be sustainable. So it's like still here for future generations. And that means remaining on proof of work and spending a lot of energy is just nothing that is the right thing, what we should do. So that is something that we are also achieving with Nimiq 2.0. And last but not least, we believe that humans also want to do good. So if I have two choices, and there's one choice which is focused on making money and profits, and there is like this other project that actually has like this DNA of doing something valuable, giving back to the society and doing something good. And while using it, you can be part of this movement. And I'm really extremely happy that this actually became part of the movement. So people who are following us, our community, is embracing this idea of being charitable, doing something good, and being able in the future to contribute to a positive societal development and supporting like projects like Team Trees or Team Seas, what we recently did. And we believe for us as a project, this is a good thing to do. This is a desirable thing to do. And it's a noble thing to do. And that's why we're all happy that we pursue this path.
May I chime in also?
Yeah,
Of course.
go ahead.
So I really like how you put that, and I also want to give a very other simple example. If you had two currencies that you are accepted in a store, let's say two cryptocurrencies, and you don't really care what the technicalities of each are. You let's say you're open to using either one of them, but you know that by using one of them, you're actually also doing good or enabling charity or enabling value for a charitable cause. I think with the mindset of the younger and newer generations, that's the right thing to pursue, right? So if you have that choice, I'm going to go with the currency that actually also has positive impact beyond that. And I just want to say one more thing. You said the human thing. There was also the cheap transactions. I think that was
of course.
Maybe that's also another one that's really important. It has to do with scalability. And so I also don't want to take away from, we're talking about a lot about proof of work being, electricity hogging. I think the discussion there we shouldn't judge that overly. I think there's a discussion to be made also that this could, what Bitcoin, for example, does is also incurring a lot of innovation around electricity, renewable energy, and so on. So there's also a positive aspect to that you could argue about. But I think what we're basically saying, there's Bitcoin. Bitcoin has its place. Bitcoin won't be replaced, for sure, not overnight. It's extremely secure. It has this established store of value role, and I think what we're doing is just going an alternative route that is the more modern approach to this, in a complementary fashion.
Absolutely,
that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. And one additional benefit of the proof of stake, regardless, is also that people who want to participate in our network and stake their coins and help to secure the network can still receive a benefit from it and receive some sort of passive income. And that is also, giving back to people who help us support the project. They can also earn rewards while being part of it. And that is, of course, something that is much harder if you're in a proof of work environment, because you basically don't need any technical knowledge to be able to stake your NIM with us, but you do require technical knowledge in order to mine, and that excludes people. And that is not like the open payment ecosystem and the borderlessness and easy access that we wish for.
I think there's arguments on both sides.
Absolutely.
What I'm basically saying, let's not judge either of the approaches to the point where one is valid and the other is not.
No, I didn't want to do that.
There seems to be enough room to say both are valid pursuing, and I think in the spirit of what we set out to do, moving from proof of work to proof of stake is something that fits with our.
That's what I wanted to say. Exactly.
Attempt to go this direction that we feel is the right one.
Yeah, and it's important also because you keep the other fundamentals that we spoke about, like, for example, the neutrality. I don't know, Ilya, if you want to share a little bit more on like why neutrality and borderless payments is important, like not providing your personal information, for example, has this also level of censorship resistant. You cannot be censored if they don't know your ID at all, right? It's pseudonymous in a way. So some thoughts on that?
Okay, but that goes more to the general concept of a proper cryptocurrency, right? The fact that your private key determines the control of your assets on the chain or in this decentralized public ledger. This is a concept that's extremely important, of course. It's also a concept around which we can, I think, innovate a lot. We have a lot of room there to improve on the ease of use of exactly that aspect. With control comes responsibility. We all say, okay, we don't want the traditional financial system to control the money. Well, somebody has to control it, right? I mean, if it's your money on your account, then you also need to secure it if you don't want anybody else to secure it for you. And that's the concept of the private key. And it's very interesting that we're at this cross-section of wanting to make things extremely easy to use, yet we do not want to compromise on the fundamentals underneath and not just create, a centralized hosted wallet, which, if you lose your password, you just email, right? So that doesn't work that way. So we've so far, with the wallet we've developed and the approaches we've taken, tried to make it as easy and intuitive as possible. Used tricks such as reminding you in a second and third step to secure this private key instead of throwing at you right at the first moment where you haven't even done anything, right? So basically scale security or safety based on your interaction with the wallet and maybe also even how much you have in it. There's those kind of things, but then there's also research into use of multi-sig, as well as social recovery, which we haven't produced any results yet, but things that we know could provide very meaningful solutions to keep things very easy without compromising these fundamentals, which give you a chance to not feel or worry so much when you interact with your wallet, knowing, oh my God, I'm the only one who, what happens if I lose it? What happens if somebody, forces me to give up my private key? How can I mitigate all that? And I think providing this peace of mind to the beginning user as well as the intermediates, to just make it really easy, worry-free, is really something that Nimiq is trying to achieve. And specifically with Nim as our currency and coin, since we control the technology underneath, or we're evolving the technology underneath as we for example provide upgrades 2.0 and so on and so forth. We can do it such that the experiences we want to offer the user on top could be optimized based on the technology that we have underneath, because we have we're developing it, right? So it gives us the tools to really do novel stuff. At least that's our hope, and that's what we're doing. And that's why things sometimes just take a lot more time than in the quick and dirty approaches.
The shortcuts that Max knows very well.
Centralized, what did we call it?
The evil temptation of centralized shortcuts.
Centralized shortcuts is a really good representation of what
we're trying to avoid.
This space kind of does. And it actually, a lot happens in the crypto space, right? Whereas we have this temptation, the evil temptation of the centralized shortcut, it makes it very easy for the users to interact with crypto. The problem is that the user at that moment in time, when he's offered these centralized shortcuts, likely is not even aware what's happening underneath and what he's giving up underneath. And what we notice, and it's really tough, I guess, for us as a project that's trying to, at the same time not compromise on these elements, is that the user, at least in the current state of the world, except the people that are really educated in the crypto space, they still don't care so much about the details. But the problem is that those details are the whole reasons of existence of crypto.
But I think that's also education. Like, they don't care because they're not even aware that there is a fundamental difference between you actually owning your money or somebody else. You open up your bank account and you see there's my money, but the thing is you're not owning it. So if you want to transfer,
like an exchange account,
let's say,
or
your traditional
wallet,
traditional bank account too, kind of, like you see the number there, but you can't transfer it as you like. If you want to transfer, let's say you buy a car and you want to transfer a larger amount, you have to call your bank first and raise your limits that you can actually send this money. So people take care of that, but they're also, they're kind of censoring your freedom of what you're able to do with your money. And crypto gives you this financial, this freedom of handling your finances as you like.
Automatically.
No, not automatically.
You said crypto gives me that freedom.
Well, if it's done right,
if it's self-custodial.
Absolutely. So in our case, Nimiq gives you this opportunity of really owning your own money. And most people who are new to the crypto space are not even aware of the fact that you can actually own it. Not only should own, that this is the right thing to do, actually own your money. And of course, as you said, with ownership and freedom also comes responsibility. And that is an educational topic. But every people, or a lot of people that I talk to, if I really explain them what it's about, and that there is always or mostly another entity that tells you what you're allowed to do with your money or not, and then they see, experience this freedom, or they understand it, that is in fact when that is that enlightening moment when people really start to understand the beauty of a truly decentralized digital currency. I had with my own parents, there was something, they wanted to make some kind of wire transfer, and there was some kind of problem, and my mom had to call the bank 3 times because they just didn't send out the transfer. And that was the moment when I said, this can't happen if you would have paid with Nim, because there is no intermediary that causes problems or doesn't let you do anything. But that was kind of the second I saw it in her face when she understood. Okay, now I get it. Now I get what this is all about. And I think it needs more such enlightening moments for a broader audience in order to really understand why cryptocurrency in its true fundamental state is an incredibly cool thing.
Yeah, it needs two things. It needs the education to understand this responsibility shift, and at the same time it needs the innovation, the novel approaches to make that responsibility handled with ease and peace of mind. And I think that's still one of the big challenges in this space and one of the big opportunities. And in general, 99% of the population has not ever interacted with crypto properly. So the opportunity is still massive, right? To educate and do it the right way. And just one more example to why I feel like the time is now more than ever of people realizing this, because it's in the news, right? In Canada, when they had this protests, I think, with truckers blocking the city for not, I think it was COVID related or vaccine mandate related. And so the government said, we're freezing the accounts of the people that donated to this, protest. And now, arguably, that's a very good example. People realized, oh, okay, that's how easy I can lose access to my money.
Mm-hmm.
And interestingly, it did not affect only fiat money, but also crypto that was donated. Crypto that was donated either from an exchange, not either. It was the crypto that was donated from an exchange. The government said, you need to freeze the accounts of the people that donated on the exchange. And the exchange can actually freeze your crypto because it's not you controlling it.
It's a centralized service.
So it's essentially very similar to just a bank holding the money for you. So, crypto is doesn't automatically mean self-custody. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really important educational thing that is part of what I think Nimiq's effort also goes towards.
For sure. Very interesting. It's definitely something that we are aspiring to do, to bring more light to the space of crypto and for more enlightenment moments. Thanks a lot for joining me, Max and Ilion.
Thank you.
Let's hope we talk soon again and there are even more people going and doing crypto the right way. Okay, so bye. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.